Some people have eyes to see beyond the headlines. Heavenly Intel and Kingdom Leaks is a supernatural fact-based podcast. It strikes a balance between current events and their spiritual meaning. That just means we don't chase conspiracy around here. We expose reality.
God? Is that it? God? Well, I tell you, let me give you a little inside information about God. God likes to watch. He's a prankster. Think about it. He gives man instincts. He gives you this extraordinary gift, and then what does he do? I swear, for his own amusement, his own private cosmic gag reel, he sets the rules in opposition. It's the goof of all time. Look, but don't touch. Touch, but don't taste. Taste, don't swallow. And while you're jumping from one foot to the next, what is he doing? He's laughing his sick ass off. He's a tight ass. He's a sadist. He's an absentee landlord. Worship that.
Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven, is that it?
Why not? I'm here on the ground with my nose in it since the whole thing began. I've nurtured every sensation man has been inspired to have. I cared about what he wanted, and I never judged him. Why? Because I never rejected him. In spite of all his imperfections, I'm a fan of man. Because the law, my boy, puts us into everything. It's the ultimate backstage pass. It's the new priesthood, baby. Did you know there are more students in law school than there are lawyers walking the earth? We're coming out! Guns blazing! The two of you, all of us, acquittal after acquittal after acquittal, until the stench of it reaches so high and far into heaven, it chokes the whole fucking lot of them.
How would we even know when spiritual wickedness disguises itself as justice? I'm not talking about racism or sexism. That's blatant. I'm talking about when the prosecution and the defense are part of the same exclusive club and justice is a performance, not a process.
Welcome back, counsel. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Mr. Stout, you and I had a private conversation in chambers and we came to an agreement. Yes, we did, Your Honor. Mr. Stout, you conducted a forensic investigation of your client's cell phone while it was in my custody after I confiscated it. And it showed that when it was in my possession, someone from my staff had tampered with the cell phone and downloaded data. That's right, Your Honor. Our agreement, Mr. Stout, is all that evidence from that investigation will be destroyed and deemed sealed. And in exchange, Mr. Stout, I will agree to dismiss all the claims and all the charges against your client. Your Honor, I just sold my soul to the devil. That's what good lawyers do, Mr. Stout. I'll see you next week at the Judges Convention. Looking forward to a few beers with you, Your Honor.
In theory, the prosecution and the defense are supposed to be adversaries, not necessarily against each other, but certainly against the respective position of law, one seeking conviction, the other protecting rights. But if both are part of the same inner circle, religiously, socially, politically, and financially, the courtroom becomes a stage where outcomes are predetermined behind closed doors.
I just want to know why, when it comes to 304s or sex workers or whatever, why does everyone always talk about, oh, they'll do anything for money, but they don't ever talk about how lawyers do anything for money? A lawyer is going to defend a rapist if they pay. A lawyer is going to defend a murderer if they pay. A lawyer is going to defend the worst type of person in the world if they pay. On top of it, they're going to get in the courtroom and manipulate the victim to then persuade everybody else to believe the bad guy. Nobody talks about how they do anything for money. Where's the moral standing? You know what I'm saying? Y'all so quick to talk about how, oh, y'all ain't got no morals. What about your mom? What about your dad? What about their mom and their dad? How do you think their kid feels knowing my dad just defended a rapist? That's weird. Nobody talks about that enough for me. And I see y'all. I know what's going on.
The theories here are tailored around the understanding of the world around us. The only kingdoms operating in our realm are the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of darkness. This is what we're experiencing with this Diddy case. In legal terms, when the prosecution helps the defense intentionally dropping the ball, withholding key evidence, or striking backdoor deals, it's more than just unethical. It's called prosecutorial misconduct or collusion. But on a deeper level, especially in high-profile or spiritual warfare cases, it's a sign the entire courtroom is compromised. The fix was in from the jump. You're not watching a trial. You're watching a ritual, a show, a distraction.
In complex RICO cases, for example, organized crime, sex trafficking, or racketeering, defendants have been charged for actions going back 10, 20, even 30 plus years, as long as prosecutors can prove that at least one predicate act occurred within the last 5 years. Recent allegations could be used to anchor older crimes under a continuing criminal enterprise, argue that Diddy has maintained and concealed a criminal network over decades, use recent actions within the 5-year window to pull in historic allegations. So even if crimes from 1991 or 2003 seem too old, prosecutors may argue there is a continuing pattern of behavior, not isolated events. Victims were threatened or silenced, which may pause the statute. Diddy's companies, collaborators, and parties functioned as part of an ongoing enterprise.
The bottom line is, if any RICO qualifying act happened since mid-2020, the prosecution could have built the case, with Diddy as the head of a criminal enterprise that operated continuously, and prior acts, even decades old, fit into a broader, provable pattern. But the prosecution dated Diddy's corrupt enterprise as operating since 2008. What about Derek Lee Cardello Smith? Tupac? Biggie. Where is the child he adopted? Is the public allowed to know what happened to that child? Ava. What about Kim Porter? Courtney Burgess, Tony Busby, Ariel Mitchell Kid, all claiming to have devastating evidence of trafficking, etc. Multiple allegations have linked Diddy to sex trafficking, drug trafficking, sexual assault, witness intimidation, coercion, prostitution, financial crimes, arson. This opens the door for past victims and new witnesses to be linked together under a single federal RICO indictment. Why wasn't this done? Luke 11 verse 17 says, "Any kingdom divided against itself will be ruined, and a house divided against itself will fall." This is why. Was the prosecution Diddy's true dream team? I would say they gave Diddy his best shot to beat this case. The defense thinks so as well, confirming to only need a day or two to present their defense of Diddy. The prosecution relied nearly exclusively on two accusers without broad corroboration and presented emotional and sensational evidence, a weak strategy under RICO, which requires proving an entire criminal enterprise. Many legal observers now believe the prosecution blew it. A hung jury or Diddy victory is looking more likely than before. The defense has already filed multiple motions for mistrial, citing prosecution misconduct and perjury. Though they've been denied so far, it shows tension and potential jury fatigue. Jury disruptions and lingering mistrial claims signal procedural instability. In the end, while the prosecution appeared to fumble a historic RICO case against Sean Diddy, failing to deliver airtight proof of a criminal enterprise and relying too heavily on shaky witness testimony, the deeper truth may lie beneath the surface. From the outside, it looks like a blown opportunity, but to those paying attention, it's possible the real win wasn't justice, it was control. By appearing to prosecute while strategically weakening the case from within, the system may have protected one of its own, giving the illusion of accountability without the risk of conviction. In that light, the prosecution didn't lose, they just played their role. As the smoke settles around the Diddy case, one thing becomes clear: it was never about justice. It was about illusion. A well-choreographed production starring the prosecution, the defense, and their elite backers, all playing roles in a script written long before the trial even began. And if you watch closely, you'd see this wasn't about proving guilt or innocence. It was about protecting assets, shielding secrets, and preserving a carefully manufactured image.
The book of Luke, chapter 11, verse 17. But he, knowing their thoughts, said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself shall be brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house falleth. If Satan also be divided against himself, how shall his kingdom stand? Because ye say that I cast out devils through Beelzebub. And if I by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your sons cast them out? Therefore they shall be your judges. But I with the finger of God cast out devils. No doubt the King of heaven is come upon you. The kingdom of God is come upon you.
The kingdom of darkness doesn't divide when it comes to protecting its own. It plays both sides, controls both sides. So what looked like a trial was really a performance with both enemies playing for the same outcome, deception. That's why justice failed. Because when evil agrees with evil, there's no division, only domination. But here's the kicker. When the justice system starts acting more like Hollywood, don't be surprised when the cast isn't who they claim to be. When you look at the Diddy trial through that lens, things get weirder fast. In our next episode, we're digging into cloning. Because what better way to control narratives than to control people? Whether it's through psychological programming like MK Ultra, deepfakes, body doubles, or actual biological replication, the enemy doesn't care how it happens, just that it works. We're pulling back the curtain on the courtroom theatrics, the clone agenda, and why the justice and political systems might just be more stages built by the kingdom of darkness. Take a look at the similarities. And don't forget to like the video and come back for more heavenly intel and kingdom leaks. Stay tuned, because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
How's Kanye? You have
Well,
love for
I
him?
met like 5 or 6 different Kanye.
Do you remember when
The
he was a nerd?
first four was awesome. The last 2 was a little bit.
Couldn't you be like, do a Steve Harvey, be like, enough of this foolishness?
No, music is sort of like a mind your business thing.